Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with Season 6, Episode 2 of our weekly PCAT, P&Q&C&A&T, which stands for Podcasting Questions and Comments and Answers in Talking. Podcast, if you want to access it that way, we'll have all that information in the description. I don't think we need to talk too much about it since we talked about it last time, but basically we're just available as a podcast now without the video component. So if you want to check us out there, feel free.
And I sort of want to say it's the best part when you get to watch along, but I also understand why it's convenient. And as the more I watch it, I think part of me, when you've been grinding enough, I don't know that you actually want to watch somebody else be grinding either. So maybe that is the best part.
Yeah. So we've got some follow-up information to last week's episode. This was based off of actually something I got for Christmas, which was the Stranger Things compendium. It was, what's it
It's
called?
like a companion book, or was it a visual companion book?
I don't know what. You know what? You can talk about the artist. I'm gonna go grab the book. Give me a second.
So last time when we were talking about our interests in art, and I believe that was a question from iProphet, that one of the artists that I liked the most was Drew Struzan, who's really known for doing poster art and some really iconic ones. I think the Back to the Future ones are Drew Struzan, and we noticed that the Stranger Things artwork looks a lot like it, because since
you noted.
Yeah, since Drew Struzan started doing it, his style, his very distinctive style, there's a lot of people who aren't him imitating it. And the artist for Stranger Things has been consistently Kyle Lambert from the beginning. And inside it, not only does he acknowledge that the style is like Drew Struzan, but that he was inspired by it, right?
Yeah. So it's Stranger Things Worlds Turned Upside Down, the official behind-the-scenes companion.
Right.
So I don't know.
I like what the effort they made to make it look like a used book that came out of the county bookstore.
Yeah, they have
store.
They have one of those red orangey stickers on it that says "Price is Fair," and they have it all beat up with a dust jacket on it so that the little fake tears don't actually turn into bigger real tears.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yeah, they've it's a pretty well put together book. Just it's visually interesting. They have a lot of actual visual design within the books in each of the pages.
Drew Struzan also did a few of the Star Wars, the original trilogy posters too, which are pretty cool. So I just want to point that out because it was just a funny connection, right? Almost right after we finished talking about that.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe we'll move on to the first question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the first question comes from Gabriel Ching, and they say, why don't you break through? And then on a different video, I think it was, a little while later, why don't you break through your characters?
Yeah. So it's... All right, so this is going to be one of those weird kind of things, but I'm going to compare it to that question where somebody asks you, when did you stop beating your wife? Right? It asks a question based on an incorrect assumption, and it becomes the kind of question where you can't just say yes or no, and it almost makes you seem more defensive.
Yeah.
To make it appear as if you have something to hide.
Why do you hate children?
Right. Okay, so exactly. That's perfect. So every card that we have at Elite 7 that has had a breakthrough has actually been taken through breakthrough, right? So you're assuming that we don't break through our characters? We do. But we don't always, or very rarely do we promote past Elite 7. And I think there's probably a handful of reasons. I mean, the most obvious one is we don't have to, right? We don't need to unlock or play any more single-player levels. And one of the big advantages of having high elite players when you don't have good gear is making them more powerful means that you have an advantage in the offline fights. Not in the multiplayer, but only in the offline fights.
Yeah.
And so that's the second related thing, right? We have enough max gear that if we wanted to, we could finish single player again and not need to go above Elite 10 on anybody, right? Because I think the Elite 10 came out, that breakthrough stuff came out after the last screen level, right? The level 8, the bonus battle 8. So we were able to complete it. We had completed it before breakthrough even existed.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, all right, so the other areas where it might be an advantage multiplayer, it is not, because not only do Elite 7 Golds give you max battle points, when you just level them up even further, it gets harder to fight. You're matched against tougher opponents.
Yeah.
And the higher you go, the more often you'll face Astro Harness. So it's not so much necessarily that the opponents are tougher that makes it worse in multiplayer, but that you're more likely to face Astro Harness. So that any kind of fighting you do is going to take longer.
That makes sense, yeah, because the lower level teams tend to have a little bit worse gear on average.
Yeah. To me, the main value of promoting past... potential value of promoting past Elite 7 is in offline play, because since the matchmaker in multiplayer will just put you up against tougher teams, you're going to be facing tougher opponents until you reach the absolute limit at the top, where then you might get a slight advantage if you're already fighting that. But really, the actual advantage is in offline play.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for having lower level characters where you're not facing the same homogenous best teams all with Astro Harness, because in the lower levels of play you can actually get a lot more variety for who you're fighting against,
and that makes it more fun.
Yeah, so I think there's like a kind of second level of advantage, because there's a hidden advantage of engagement that isn't actually measured in any of the stats, right? It has nothing to do with how easy or hard a fight is.
Right. It would be like if you're looking at stocks and you're looking at the coefficient of volatility, so that the certain things that's not obvious from where the stock price started and where the stock price ends up and how much money you make. Part of it is that how you got there in terms of just grinding for your battle points. It makes a huge difference to me, at least, when I get to face different people.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, if you max out at the 5,000 battle points, right, and you are fighting fights that are more interesting to you, then it has more value than 5,000 battle points but boring fights.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess a secondary point I just want to point out too with Astro Harness. When you're facing Astro Harness, the reason why it's not a problem, but also one of the things that are necessary if you want to actually be facing it, is I think Tantu Totem. I mean, a good tank will do the job, but Tantu Totem does it better, because what it means is that you're not actually having to eat any damage. You're just wasting their time until their invulnerability is done, because you just keep on getting your power back.
Yeah, it basically just cancels out the effect in exchange for your time. The majority of the time, unless you screw up and end up getting whacked around a little bit.
Yeah, and some guys like this team, we've actually kept at Elite 5. Yeah. Because they're just good enough for everything we'll want to do with them. Yeah.
So there we go. The next question comes from Julius the Shark, and they ask, or it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. They say, I think Arkham Origins Joker synergizes quite well with the Quake engine.
And it's true. I mean, there's lots of things that are good, but when you look at Arkham Origins Joker, all right, so he's an Arkham guy, so he gets the synergy when there's Arkham teammates that give benefits, that have a passive that helps their if they're on an Arkham team, right? So is Arkham Origins Joker better than Arkham Knight Catwoman? To me, Arkham Knight Catwoman is sort of the ultimate damage over time in that group. And I think maybe this is the point that it's impossible to be everything to everybody, right? Because my personal preference for damage over time is bleed. Because not only is it damage, but it means other damage is magnified. So you get a 20% boost for the first one, and if you can stack 3 bleeds, you get a 60% boost to damage. And it's no secret, right? That our preference for fights is to just wail away at the guys. Fast fights, big damage, high damage rate.
High DPS.
DPS, damage per second. And you can see where that strategy fails, right? When we're fighting against the Red Sun Green Lantern teams. Because, it potentially fails. It actually doesn't, but where we struggle because it takes us longer when New 52 Wonder Woman tags in that case, does not wipe out the first person, and the fights drag on. But then that's where you actually see the value of a bleed strategy when Injustice 2 Aquaman comes in. If he's got 2 or 3 bars of power, 2 or 3 special ones, all the bleed damage stacks, and then you tag in New 52 Wonder Woman.
And you do damage really, really quick.
Right, so it's almost like she's got the crit damage back, right?
Yeah, everything is chipping away because you get a lot more damage and you get all this damage over time stacked up. So it's really, on a couple levels, just pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
The rate at which the
right, all right, so we see this now. We can see this now. I mean, he can take crit hits, right? But really, 3 special ones, and the last special isn't even necessary. Like, he basically had no health by the time the special one launched. I mean, the more interesting question is, not the real question, they're all real questions. The more interesting question is, how dangerous is it going to be building a team around damage over time when there's a chance that you're going to be facing Blackest Night Flash.
Oh, that's true.
Because he's going to... It's like all the other stuff, right? Whenever there's something that seems overpowered, and then they bring in some sort of like a, plot twist.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, instead of being an advantage, this might actually be a disadvantage. But like other things that might sound good on paper, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to know how well it does until we've played it out a bit to see how the numbers are. Because in offline play, it feels like the amount of health that they get back is about the same as the damage over time. So it's more like a negation of damage over time than it
That's
is
true.
An actual advantage.
And it might still give you, the damage boost, right?
Yeah. Yeah, see, and that's just it. So to me, bleed is way better, because I can't even remember what the effect of poison is. Is it that maybe you do less damage on your hits?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either, but to me, like, it's one of those things where there's so much information. I play it out a bit, I get a feel for what it's like, and I decide what I like, and then I just go with it. And sometimes it's worth revisiting, but in that case, I guess, lots of guys are good with Quake Engine, but, each of us has our own preference, and my preference is for Arkham Knight Catwoman above all other Arkham damage over time guys.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it does just come down to who you prefer to some extent. There's some characters that are strictly better, and then there's some characters where you like them better.
Yeah, because maybe you had them first. I remember I used to play forever with the Silver Green Arrow and the Silver Harley Quinn, because those are the first two silver guys that I got that had promotions from the packs. Yeah.
And for me, it was Black Adam.
Oh, he was the first
Black
gold.
Adam, yeah.
Remember when there was the glitch, and there was that bonus for how many players had
joined
Injustice?
1 million players or whatever. You got like something like 30,000 credits, and I managed to get it like 4 times without...
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Like, that was even before we started consciously trying to exploit glitches.
Yeah. And so I just ended up getting basically like a gold pack right off the start for right at the very, very beginning. Right. And you ended up using somebody's console sign in for WBID to get some gold characters right off at the beginning. Right.
But so my Prison Superman as a gold isn't as good as Black Adam.
And there was somebody else too, wasn't it? Batman? Wasn't there like a animated Batman Beyond or something like that?
You could be right. But it was definitely one of the weaker golds, and the Batman Beyond definitely was one of them. Not the animated one, but the Batman Beyond definitely was one of them.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think there was 2 golds right off the start.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, our next question comes from GMDCostaRica NB, and they ask, what is the best way to promote any character and get the most damage in life? Gridding, I'm assuming they're saying grinding, to level 50 the characters and promote it, or do it from level 1. Please help me, guys. And then Apocalypse commented into the reply, it's a combination of both promote and level, but it has been recommended by BDCKR Gaming to max level first so you can balance your teams out so they're not under or overpowered. And I think that's good. I think from the way that the question is formatted, the person might not be clear, and I say the person, our demographic, I checked recently, is something like 97% male.
Well, that identifies male. I mean, there's also some people that might not, and that actually, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess your point is the absolutely right one, that if we're going to guess, we're going to be 97% chance right if we just assume male.
And I hope that's indication of the content that we're making and the fan base of the content, and not somehow the actual thing we're producing. Because that would be a word statistic if it was an indication of what we're doing over here.
Yeah, I think, and you know what we've probably proven over time with, not that we've proven to ourselves over time by checking the stats, where what we do and what we think the quality of what we've been doing has been changing, and when it's good, it doesn't seem to make a difference. A lot of it has to do with the interest in the game, and when a new update hits, our views go up, no matter how much content we get or how good it is. It really is just, it's the natural interest in the game that ebbs and flows. Is that the expression? Ebbs and flows over time.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I turned the sound off on that. Okay. But I guess, to be clear, you end up in the same stats no matter what. You can't gain or lose stats just kind of out of nowhere. Right.
So no matter which direction you go, it goes that. You get to max stats when you get to whatever level 50, elite 7, or level 60, elite 10. But I think the key is this: when you have found the ideal level, because the point we were making earlier is, I think that there's actually an ideal level, and if you go higher, you lose a bit of your advantage.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you're always going to gain XP. You can't lock yourself at a certain level.
Right.
What you do have control over is the elite level. So, when you're early in the game, I would say for, non-online multiplayer exclusives and non-challenge characters, you're probably pretty safe for most of them to get them to at least Elite 5, and for a lot of them, probably Elite 7. And the way that I would do that is, if they're at their max level, and you're not getting maximum battle points at whatever elite level they are, if you take them online, a full team of, people, then I think it's fair to elite each of them up one level. I think that's safe. Until you're at around max battle points, I think there's no real kind of long-term harm in eluding them up.
So that's an important distinction to make, right? So if it's somebody that you plan on playing long-term in multiplayer, then if you can, and that's an important qualification I'll get into later, but if you can, you really should get them up to level 50 first, and then promote them as you play them to figure out what's the right level. But
especially if they're in a team, because then you should keep all the team around the same kind of stats.
But if you're starting out and you actually need them to be useful to grind to get through the offline play, then promoting to them as high as you can, as fast as you can is better, because then they'll be powerful and useful early on. But that's really only for early play.
Yeah.
Oh, this ties into another question that we had, and it's going to come up later, but I think maybe we could pull it up now.
Who?
Is from Matthew Burgner.
Okay, yeah. In the next video, could you please briefly mention whether it would be a good idea to promote Ame Comi Catwoman or just sell the extra cards? Ideally, I would want to level up and promote every card in the game, but Ame Comi seems like one I can definitely hold off on. I'm working with Arkham Knight and Earth 2 characters right now, so the extra credits could always come in handy, but I was just wondering your collective opinion of Ame Comi's usefulness as well as value based on rarity or otherwise. Your input is much appreciated. I always enjoy watching your videos. And what I would say to this is, if you're planning on eventually maxing everything out, I feel like selling a character for credits for something else is probably not a great idea.
Right.
Just especially if it's Ame Comi challenge character, right?
Right.
So if you have her unlocked in the store, that's different. That's more okay.
But even then, if you decide later to promote her, you're paying 100% of promotion price. Right now, you're only going to get back 30% of that promotion price when you sell an extra copy. Mm-hmm. So if there's something that you really, really want early on, to me, the only value in selling her would be to get gear lockers.
Yeah.
And gear lockers is such a random kind of thing that you're going to potentially get burnt on it anyways. Mm-hmm. So my temptation, it's like when we were playing Pokemon and I'd save all my rare candies, I think. I want to save it because I don't know when I'm going to be able to get my next one. I just want to keep on promoting, and then at the end of the game, I'd end up with like hundreds of rare candies that I never used because I was thinking, just in case for later. I think that's where I'd end up with Ame Comi, because I think my feeling was, save the extra copies, because later if I decide I actually want it, I'm going to feel so burnt having to do generate more than three times as many power credits to do it.
But there's also the chance that there's going to be a power credit glitch at some point in the future, and then you can just put in, that 10, 15, 20 minutes and get back all you've done. So if you've unlocked her in the store, I would say then it's a question still. If you haven't, I would say it's not a question. You want to keep her. And then after that, I think you need to figure out how much you want something right now. And when you're talking about, ideally long-term, you'd like to have everybody eluded, what kind of long-term are we talking about here, right? How long do you think you're going to continue playing? And just from a mechanical level, do you ever think you're going to get to that point? Do you think you're going to be willing to put the time in?
Right.
And I think that's a very hard question to answer without knowing, a lot more about you. I think we need to know not only where you are in the game, but how much time you have to dedicate it to it every day.
Your attitude towards the
how
game.
Much you're still enjoying it, right? How long you tend to play stuff like this, if you played stuff like this before, and if you haven't, then just whatever your best guess for how long you might play it for.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors here, and I mean, I guess your vote is kind of more just a generally no, and my vote is a maybe, where if you legitimately think that you're never going to get to the point where it's important and it's already unlocked in your store, then you can go ahead and sell for some stuff right now. I think that's a decent way of kind of jump starting the stuff that you have to play with and making the time that you do spend with the game maybe a little more fun.
And the slightly deviating pathway that I've got that I would support is promote the heck out of her, get her right to the top, use her to grind. Unless you've got a full grinding team that you don't need to recharge and you don't need to wait for it, she would be useful to generate more power credits long term.
That's true. But that's a question of how long you play and how spaced out it is. So if you play enough, if you tend to play more but in single sittings, and you're running out of energy, then leading her up so that she's usable to grind with is valuable. But if you play kind of more dispersed, where you don't tend to need more, grinding teams than what you already have, then you don't need her for a grinding team. Right. If she's just for collection, then she's not that great, and you're actually fine. So I guess in that way, it also depends on your mindset and how much of a completionist you are. And so even if you ended up getting to the day where you've spent, 1,000 hours on Injustice, and you're finishing up whatever loose ends you have, if Ame Comi is an important loose end for you to finish up, or if loose ends, as they were, are even important at all.
Right. I mean, I know that I've been able to give up some of my obsessive compulsive tendencies, where I used to feel like I needed to max out every character, not only have every character, but max out all of them as high as they potentially could go. And I've gotten away from that as I started valuing multiplayer play more.
Yeah. So
I guess that sort of answers it.
Mm-hmm. So we've got another question here. These are all kind of related to the
early strategy.
Yeah, early game. The same kind of theme of collection and purchasing and resources.
Strategy. Is the
I have no clue.
Prefix that means from the primordial, basic, original kind of strategy. And it feels like it's the perfect term for this, because it's that overall.
Wait, what was that? Okay.
Strategy.
And that means basic?
Like the primordial, like the original kind of the fundamental, almost like an archetype. But not exactly. There's a few. I should look that up. Before I start spouting off. But it just seemed like a good word.
I'll take your word for it.
All right.
And that word is apparently.
Well, it's not a word. It's a prefix.
Oh.
Like meta.
Wait. So how is it a prefix? Like in what context? What is it affixed to?
Well, you can affix it to anything. Like it's the way the way people have started using the word meta for strategy. All right, so hold on. I'm gonna Google this right now.
Okay.
And so it's combining form. It's a prefix. It's primitive, original, earliest, like text.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And it sounds like it's from German.
That's not a prefix I've heard before. Yeah, that makes sense.
It was so apparently was an important Sumerian city-state in ancient Mesopotamia, which
but
is
that's not okay.
Not what we're talking about.
Okay, well we have a question here from Esteban Michael Wojtenek. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Neither do I.
There's a J, Wojtenek Aldas, and then.
All right, so Esteban to me is Hispanic. Wojtenek is more like Eastern European.
I don't know.
Okay, so anyways, so let us know. Actually, we're curious about where your names came from and how to pronounce your name if you're actually listening to this.
That's true. They say, "Hi guys, love your videos. I have a question. Could you please do a quick guide for what booster packs to buy when you are a beginner?"
All right, so that's kind of cool. We're getting New Year. Oh, I forgot to say Happy New Year, everybody. Today is New Year's Day.
Yeah. Okay.
So New Year question from a relatively new player.
Yeah, and we've done this rundown before,
but it changes over time. I think as the new things are added to the game.
So I think to start out, you probably want a very limited number of bronze packs just to get some kind of fodder for your team.
Right.
So you start out with 3 characters, and I think you actually earn characters pretty early in
the bronze battles.
You want to maybe buy, I don't know, a handful of bronze packs. It depends on exactly how much you're playing.
The good thing about bronze packs is a lot of times you can get cards that pay you back, so the cost of bronze packs is way less than 8,000. And sometimes you
but
get
that's
the right
only
card.
Once you've started to get all the support cards unlocked.
Right.
Because you can't sell them back.
That's true.
So
in that case, the support cards are actually useful because you don't want to pay for them.
Yeah.
8,000 is actually a pretty good price because you get a character and some stuff.
So what you want to do is buy bronze packs until you have enough teams that you feel okay stopping when you run out of energy for everybody. Not necessarily enough teams that you can never run out of energy, because that's, I think, a little too much to invest in bronzes right off the bat.
Yeah.
But when you run out of bronzes and you're like, okay, this is fine, I've played enough for now.
Now, if you're playing enough already at the beginning, you get high enough into the maybe bonus battle 1 or 2, then I would actually, as soon as you can, give up on the bronze packs and go straight to the gold daily, the discount at 25% off golds.
Yeah.
Because they will help you advance way better. But here's the problem. I think originally to me the goal was to get the bonus battle 6 as fast as you can. Now that the challenge characters are so much stronger, I think the goal is to be able to finish the challenge, get as many copies of the challenge characters as possible.
With the reset.
Right. And then that's how you actually improve your game and get further.
Yeah. And so that might mean if you're confident that you have, when you have some other golds lined up, actually maybe purchasing people directly from the store to be able to complete the requirements.
Yeah, see, this is what I mean. So if the variety of characters that you can get in gold will help you get through the subsequent challenges. Like, let's say, for example, this challenge you can get through. Because you're spending that money, this is the sort of the cheapest rate you can get a gold character for. Yeah. You get a better chance of lots of variety. Listen, you either get variety or you get to promote somebody that you've already got, which is even luckier because then you can advance through the game faster. Yeah. And then, so there's sort of big steps, right? So when you save enough for the discount gold packs each day, that's one threshold. But when you can save enough for one of those targeted packs that have 3 specific characters every time, so you can promote them really cheaply and early, then that becomes even better. But,
yeah, because then you got a really solid team that can take you through almost all single player.
And our original evaluation, saying that was the absolute best way to do it, had more to do with the challenge coming every, lasting 3 weeks, having a week in between, so they come basically every 4 weeks.
Yeah, because this way, in a 3-week span, if you can complete all 3 challenges, you can get a full team max deleted out if you have the time to put in to get them there.
Right, so that's why, to me, the focus is skewed more towards being ready for each challenge than it ever was before. So that's why I think the discount golds become even more important, not specifically to create a team that can help you grind a bonus battle 6, but to help you have a full enough roster to complete each challenge, have the requirements there, and as a secondary issue, get to bonus battle 6 if you don't happen to be able to accumulate challenge characters fast enough.
Yeah, and I would even posit that right at the beginning, maybe you do actually want to spend some cash on a silver pack or 2. I think silver is a decent kind of bridge. If you the problem is early in the game, there's going to be places, because of the nature of the single player, where basically your issue is just that your guys aren't strong enough to beat it. Right. And if your guys aren't strong enough to beat it and you're making money really slow and you want to get that kind of little bit of a push, I think there is some value to getting a silver character to be kind of the stopgap so that it lets you get to a point where you actually can make more money from grinding. So I think that's a little bit of up to your discretion.
And it's even more true, actually, if you're able to get, and this is the hard part, getting one silver character up high enough is not too expensive, but getting 3 is. But once you can break them through, a level 60 elite 10 silver character can get you really far in the game.
Yeah, but that's a long, long way off when you're talking about a new player and what packs they're going to buy.
So I still think that the best money is in the discount daily golds. Yeah. As a sort of a pathway to getting each of the challenge characters and grinding while you're doing it. Yeah. But I think...
And I think you can also even grind the challenge early on for some pretty good money, even if you just want to earn some bronze packs, if you can only do 2 ladders.
But the late stage improvement and the ability to win in multiplayer has everything to do with gears. Yeah. And it'll be gear lockers. So actually, that's the other part. So if the multiplayer stuff is important to you, I think that the part you were talking about promoting bronze characters matters, because if you promote your bronze characters fully, you may not get full battle points, but you'll also be facing a lot of teams that don't have full gear, that puts you at a disadvantage when you don't have the gear yourself.
That's true. So, and the problem is when we were playing, we actually never played with gear, so we're not sure.
Oh yeah, when we started.
So we're not sure about exactly when the purchasing of gear comes into play and when it's important. But I think a good kind of rule of thumb for that is you kind of just have to look in online multiplayer and see with your better teams how much gear you're facing. Right. And you're gonna struggle a lot more with those teams unless you have gear about as good as the people you're fighting against. So for that, you can play it by ear. And if you spend more money on gear, if you spend enough money on gear that you have better than the average you're facing, it means you're going to have easier fights. So that's how I would kind of do gear, is I would, at the very least, try to keep up with whatever the team that you prefer to play in online, whatever gear the opponents have. Yeah. And at best, ideally, you would put more in to the point where your gear is better so that you actually have easier fights. Right. So that's, I think, our best guide. It's not super comprehensive, but that's a kind of general kind of roadmap of the places that you should be looking to hit, the milestones.
I don't think there's an absolutely right or wrong answer. Part of it a lot of it is it depends.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of exciting too, because I think that lets you, make what is legitimately a meaningful decision.
Right.
Because you can spend, a discount gold pack worth of money on a ton of bronze packs, and I don't think that's the right way to go, especially if you have all that money saved up. But, at the end of the day, if you're playing a ton and you want enough teams that you actually never have to stop playing, even if right at the beginning the only way to do that is to make sure they're all bronzes. Right. And that's a viable way to play too. If you have the time to put in, then, giving you the ability to grind as much as possible is worth something.
Right.
And I think you don't need to worry too much, because the actual balancing of the early game means that you're getting a pretty constant trickle of decent new stuff, even if you end up saving up for stuff.
Right. I think that's a good point, right? Just the act of buying packs sometimes can be part of the excitement of the game.
Yeah, and the early game gives you a lot of kind of possibility space, and you're gonna be spending money on like upgrading specials. That's something that I don't even really think we think about too much anymore.
Right.
Is upgrading. That was a
long time ago,
upgrading your specials to make them deal more damage. So you're gonna have to spend some money on that too, right? So what we're talking about in strict cost isn't gonna be your exact mileage with this, but I think you just want to get to each bonus battle as fast as you can.
Oh, but here's the thing too. Because we don't have to upgrade them, but we also have lost the other joy of by happenstance getting upgrade cards on cards that we want to upgrade anyways out of the packs.
That's
right?
true.
So it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there we go. Our next question comes from RandomUser16345 E, and they say, I have a question. So I've gotten a lot of my characters to Elite 10 or 7, level 60 or 50, and then in brackets, I did this when I was pretty bad at the game. I know using Elite 5, level 50s is a lot better. What should I do? Any recommended teams that are good to use a bit higher up, excluding Arkham Origins Deadshot, as I haven't been able to get him. And then a comment later. In terms of the Justice League team you went over, my new 52 Wonder Woman is Elite 10 level 60, Injustice 2 Aquaman is Elite 7 level 50, and new 52 Superman is Elite 2 level 50. And one thing that you can do, which is kind of the only way to get people at a lower elite level other than totally restarting, is I know that that's one of the possible modifications you can make to the game. So if you can
you mean like a hack?
Yeah. So if you can either hack that or figure out somebody to hack that for you, that's a way, if it's really important to you to get to kind of the lower levels.
Not that we endorse it or encourage it anyway. I mean, maybe that's sort of the point of what we've done so far, is that we've tried to do it in a way that doesn't involve hacking. But you're right. I mean,
that's the most extreme option.
Yeah,
if you really can't deal with people as high elite as your characters are.
Yeah, because this is one of the flaws, and I think this would improve the game so much if it would allow you to, even if it did it irreversibly, to reduce the promotion of your characters.
Yeah.
By choice. I mean, the team...
Not like irreversibly like you couldn't elite them back up. You mean irreversibly like it would just consume whatever resources you spend eliting them?
Right, so that it's not that you could just jump, like turn it down like a volume knob, like a volume dial, but just that it would bring them back, and if you wanted them back up again, you'd have to do the work to get them back up again.
Yeah, because the matchmaking system really doesn't do you any favors for having more stuff pumped into your characters.
All right, so see how little damage you took from that special 2 from Shazam? That was pretty good. The other point is with this particular team that you're asking about, right? So you've got Elite 10, level 60 Wonder Woman, Elite 7, level 50 Aquaman,
and Elite 2.
Yeah, just promote them. This is a team that actually performs really well at Elite 10, level 60.
Mm-hmm.
But the key, if you want them to do well, again, is Tattoo Totem.
And also a balanced team.
Yeah,
the Elite 2 is not going to serve you here.
But so just promote them all up, and as long as you've got Tattoo Totem, I think this team is going to be able to handle the higher level teams that you can do. I mean, that was the point when we did our whole best team videos, right? There's a series there. If you want to look, just look up BDCKR playlist best team, and you'll see 3 different versions of best teams that we've done. And there's a reason why this one is the one we're playing with, not because it's the fastest here, because I think Flashpoint is actually marginally faster at this level, but because that other team is good here, and it gets even better at the higher level, even if it's not necessarily faster, because facing somebody like MetaHuman Flash with the Astro Harness, we're powering up our team already. Look, everybody's at 2 bars, we're still at 1 bar, and we're still powering up the rest of our team. We're going to get to 3 bars before anybody tags in. Look, everybody's 3 bars already, and Astro Harness is what gave it to us.
Yeah.
And we're still doing it because New 52 Superman still powers up even though there's 2 bars showing only.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So that should be, like, he should come in with two 100% boosts to his damage.
Yeah.
And any other team, you'd be frustrated because it would just be killing time, but in this case, they're just getting stronger. Look at that. So look at the bleed. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Check
so
that
this is
out.
And now, because Quake Engine drops it on the next guy, and look how fast he's attacking us. And in his one combo, he lost half his health.
Yeah, that's pretty spectacular.
Because of damage over time that he did not take directly, but was reapplied from the Quake Engine.
Yeah.
So bleed damage is spectacular, and that's his own. I should point that out, right? Like, it's not, we're not relying on some other piece of gear to give it to him.
Yep. And there we go. Our next question comes from Audel's, I don't know, AUDEL''S.
Actually, we're out of footage, but we're just going to finish this anyways.
Yeah. Adele's Fortnite clips, and they say, I have a question. How do I upgrade my Blackest Night Flash? It says I have to get him from the packs, but there isn't a pack that contains him since he was an online event reward. And then they follow up in a reply, and they say, I think they should add an event which you need Blackest Night Flash in order to get other one, so it could stay exclusive to players who grinded the online event.
I'm going to maybe answer the question and maybe disagree a little bit with the comment.
Yeah, because I disagree with making any content harder to get.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, all right, so they've made mistakes like that before with characters who are multiplayer exclusives having on the back of their card something saying that they're available in packs. They did that with Ares. They did that with Cassandra King Batgirl.
Yeah.
And they eventually fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a history of that. And while it even might technically be true that they're available in packs, so sometimes we have special occasion packs that cost real money, and they potentially have every card that's been available, and that sort of blurs the line between multiplayer exclusive and those that are available in packs. But, you know, these multiplayer rewards are typically much more readily available in multiplayer and very much less readily available in packs. I gotta tickle my throat. I'm trying to get everything out before I start coughing into the microphone.
Yeah, and just to your point about making something exclusive, and especially making something exclusive with a specific character, is it doesn't feel good to anybody who doesn't have it. And I would like to maybe posit that there's no advantage in this game to having something that other people don't. You don't gain anything. And so there might be kind of a sense of having collected it, but I think there's no real kind of value added. So it would mostly just be making the people who didn't get it feel crappy about it. And I think most of what would make it feel good is the fact that there would be people who didn't have it and felt a little crappy about it. I don't think there would be much intrinsic kind of bonus value. I think the only reason it would be better is if it was something that, for example, was specific and weird and maybe changed the meta, changed what teams people would put in to fight it. And if it was more exclusive, you know, there would be less of it floating around it online, so people wouldn't feel the need to, you know, adjust to fight that character or piece of gear as much. So that's but that advantage seems like a kind of insignificant one, and I feel like anything that lets the most people get the most stuff, as long as it doesn't totally take away the sense of having earned it, is the way to go for this.
Yeah, I can't find anything to disagree with there.
So there we go. Is that everything?
That is.
Okay. To finish up, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/BDCKR, or you can click on our face in the bottom right corner at the end of the video. But more importantly, as always, a huge thank you to our patrons. We have Console Peasant, Eddy G, and Edwin Felix, who are supporting us at the highest last word tier, iProphet at the Your Message Here tier, and we've got Shawn, Farrell, and Daniel Simonson, who are supporting us on the credited level. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.